Let's get started.
Wow, jogged and walked a 5K. That is awesome.
Well, good morning and welcome to it's day 7 of Choose Your Heart Challenge. My name is Haley Trujillo. This is my husband, Casey Trujillo, and we are certified Optavia coaches. And we just want to congratulate you, first of all, for being here this morning. And secondly, those who are listening, congratulate you for making time to listen and to be a part of this challenge. We hope that you're loving what you're learning, and we hope that you are noticing how you're creating healthier habits. So first of all, just congrats on that.
Congrats for you. That was well said. That was really good.
Thanks.
I like that.
Thanks. I want to start by sharing with you a fascinating experiment. In 2006, journalist Rob Welker set out to determine if he could change an object, the value of an object without changing the object. And what he did is he started by purchasing 200 thrift items on eBay, all with an average value of 99 cents. And none of them had anything special about them. There was a plastic banana, an old wooden mallet, even a mouse with a missing ear. So random things, 99 cents, right? And what he did is he invited 200 authors to each write a story about one of those objects. He then auctioned the items on eBay, back on eBay, with the story in the description. One of the items was a plastic bust of a horse's head. And he bought that horse's head on eBay originally for 99 cents. And then he ended up selling it for $62.95. So that was an increase of 6,300%. In total, he ended up selling the 200 items for almost $8,000. So all thanks to the story that transformed these otherwise trite objects into something of value. So how does this relate to our topic today of fueling or drooling? How can we relate this to our health? If I were to show you a picture of a McDonald's cheeseburger, what thoughts would go through your head? Now, some of you may think, ooh, gross. I hate McDonald's. No, thank you. I have some nods. Some would think, oh man, that looks amazing. Even though it's 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, I could use a cheeseburger, but man, it's 500 calories and I'm not eating that. Oh, man, bummer. No, I'm not gonna eat that. Some of you might be taken back to your childhood, and it might create a spark of memory. And that's what it did for me. Casey and I were talking about McDonald's and how it sparks memories for his childhood. And I thought, you know what? It does for me too. I remember on Saturdays, if we did our chores, my parents would take us to the McDonald's drive-thru, and I would get my very own cheeseburger kids meal. So what about if I put just a piece of cake on the screen? Imagine just a piece of cake. What story or emotion is tied to that cake? And can we just see it as a piece of cake? Or do we create these thoughts and feelings about this cake? Either you fuel your body, or you drool over that cake, and you must have it because your cousin's, husband's, friend's, neighbor's birthday is today, and you have to have the piece of cake because it's a birthday, and that's what you do on birthdays, right? So how can we switch the way we think about fueling with food or drooling over food? So Casey's going to walk you through exactly how to do that now.
All right. So one of our favorite things about being health coaches is you go on a journey with people, just people like us that are all trying to get better, that hey, for the first time we ever ran a 5K, or someone just saying, hey, you know what? I said no to some food. And what I love about being a coach is hearing how people make this mind shift, because this is, to me, the biggest game changer out there. Is if I can look at food and say, I'm neutral to it. It doesn't mean that I'm saying I'm never going to eat that again. It's not saying that it's not a delicious piece of food, but if I could just first look at the food and say, this is fuel. Does this align to my goals? And make a decision without emotion. Can you imagine that change? So one of the individuals that we've been working with that did this really well, his name's Kurt Craner. And he's in a blue collar environment, super stressful. He works with people that, are they just complain a lot. And so what would take place is he'd do his rounds. And so he'd go check on his crew. And when he'd get done checking on his crew, this would happen about 10 or 12 times a day. He would walk by this certain hallway that had these little vending machines set up with free nuts, cashews, almonds, and raise your hand if you like almonds and nuts and cashews. Yeah, this guy right here, right? And so every day, 10 to 12 times, he would walk by this station. Now, he would feel stress as he would go through and check on his employees. And the way that he would deal with this stress is when he would see these vending machines, visual cue, he'd turn them, they're free, gosh, why not? And he'd have some nuts, right? And he started to realize that that's what he would do every time to cope with his stress. So if I want to put food in a neutral state, the first thing I have to recognize is, in this example, we're going to do stress, but it could be celebrations, it could be vacations. There's a trigger that causes us to look at food and write this story and put more value to it in a certain way. And for Kurt, when he was dealing with his stress, one of the things that helped relieve his stress was popping these almonds in his mouth. So that's the first step in looking at something neutral, is to say, okay, when I have emotion, what do I do with that emotion? How do I work with the emotion? How do I work with stress? And for him, it was nuts. So that was step one. Step two is the harder step. Is all of a sudden when Kurt would check in with us and he would be frustrated that he didn't hit his health goals, and we would walk through his day, he had to realize that when he would feel stress, that he would take these nuts, and then all of a sudden, guess what? He wasn't hitting his health goal, because 10, 12 times throwing in a handful of nuts, guess what? Those calories add up. And all of a sudden he's like, oh my gosh, I dealt with my stress, yes, but now I'm dealing it with a way that's not aligning to the goals that I have with my health. So step two is you have to actually realize that the way that you're handling this is not in alignment with what you're actually trying and wanting to accomplish. Someone said, if you based your decisions off of how you would feel tomorrow, would you still make those decisions? Right? At Friday, we're going into the weekend and we're like, oh, okay, I'm going to be good. And then you go to some events, or you deal with a stressful situation and you pop food. Just imagine if you thought, on Monday, I'm meeting with my health coach. How do I want to show up when I talk to my health coach? Could you imagine the decisions you would actually make? So Kurt had to start to decide, well, gosh, okay, I'm dealing with stress this way. I am feeling okay about it after I get done. But all of a sudden, when I actually look at a bigger picture, it's not serving me. So step three is I got to actually change my thought process. I actually have to put some action towards something, right? Because Kurt can't rip out the vending machines. This isn't his company. He has to walk by this alleyway or this hallway. He can't actually avoid it to go back to his office. Those things could not change. Just like the birthdays can't change, just like the baby blessings can't change, just like the stress of your kids sometimes can't change. You still have to face that. So what Kurt did, and this is fantastic, is he printed out 2 pieces of paper. The first piece of paper had a picture of some peanuts, and he had a big X around it, and he posted that underneath these little vending machines. The second picture, and this is bold, this is living out loud, people. I don't know if I could have done this. And this is why you waking up on a Sunday morning is inspiring to me. Here's what he did on the second one. The second one is he took a picture of himself, and what he labeled, and this is his words, not mine, he put Fat Kurt next to it. And he had a picture of himself at a heavy weight and put Fat Kurt. Underneath that picture was his ideal Kurt, the Kurt that he had 10 years ago, the one where he said, this is where a healthy weight was for me. This is when I could do all the activities I wanted to. And next to that picture, he put the choice, you decide. And he pasted that right there. So 10 to 12 times a day, guess now what Kurt saw? Kurt saw him. Kurt saw, it's my decision. Kurt saw I could still deal with stress, but I could deal with stress in a positive way. I could actually look at food as fuel, strip out the story and the value, and look at this in a neutral way and say, okay, how do I want to show up today? and he won the day. So the challenge for you today, as Haley talked about, is seeing food as either saying, I'm going to see this as fuel, or I'm going to drool over and go, oh man, it's my mom's cookies and they are so good, right? It is a story that you are putting to the value of that food. The food does not change. It's just the story and the value that you put to it. So the challenge today is to look at how you deal with stress. When you get stressed, what do you do? Because you're managing that stress, you're dealing with the stress, but is the stress aligning to your goals that you're putting out there? And guess what? At the end of the day, you get to decide. Am I going to start to see this as fuel? Am I going to start to see, does this help me align to what I want to do? Or is it going to set me back and I'm going to go in this cycle of stress, deal with it, and then do something that doesn't like me? You decide. That's the challenge for today. Haley, did I miss anything?
No, awesome.
High five, everyone. Good job on being here today.
Have a great day. See you guys.